showing out, making moves, no doubt. FFA pride, it's what we're all about. From classroom dreams to real world flair, we got the stories you won't find anywhere. Beyond the jacket where the stories unfold, voices of the future, fearless and bold. Tune in now, let the passion ignite. It's more than a jacket, it's a way of life. Beyond the jacket where passion meets purpose.
Welcome back to Beyond the Jacket. We're so excited to be sitting down with somebody who has quite a unique story today. I'm super excited to get to know Miss Sadie Knight and hear about her FFA journey and where she is now in her agriculture journey. Sadie, why don't you introduce yourself to our guests?
Yeah, happy to. So excited to be on the podcast this morning. My name is Sadie Knight. I'm from LJ, Georgia, which is an itty-bitty small town in North Georgia. We're known for apples and agritourism. And so I didn't grow up on a farm, but my family has always been involved in agriculture, even if it was just, a small garden out back or raising some hogs and chickens or whatever have you. Where I'm from in North Georgia too is also considered the poultry capital of the world. And so lots of chickens, lots of industry and jobs around the poultry industry. So I was inundated with it at a very young age. And so as soon as I could join FFA, I did it. I had an aunt who was an ag teacher. To this day, I think she's the coolest aunt I'll ever have. And she got me interested at a young age. In Georgia, we actually do FFA in middle school. So in 7th grade, I joined FFA and did all kinds of CDEs. I was a state officer in 2016 and 2017. And then eventually, through my FFA experience, I realized that I was really interested in politics and communication. It actually has to do with my time as a state officer and the opportunity to collaborate in Atlanta at our state capitol and do some different events there. But anyways, caught the bug from FFA, did an internship up here in DC. I knew I wanted to come back. Graduated in 2020 from the University of Georgia. Worst time to graduate ever. But thankfully, I knew what I wanted to do. So I came up to DC. I worked at USDA for a little bit, kind of did a tour of the Capitol, spent some time in the Senate, spent some time in the House. And now I'm the director of grassroots and political strategy at the National Corn Growers Association. But outside of all of that, I have a dog. My husband and I just moved to a townhome in the area, which is a big deal because we have a front and backyard. So we're novice gardeners right now, so still trying to get my hands dirty. But yeah, it's a little bit about me.
That is quite the roundabout story. I have been to LJ. My dad is from Georgia, so got dogs there. A little around for me, and there's lots of love up there with the poultry industry for sure. So many chickens. I mean, I'm from Florida, Miss Sadie, so ours is more cattle and used to be citrus, but isn't the same anymore. So definitely some background there, and of course your FFA experience is fantastic. Talk to me a little bit about being a state vice president and what that means now. We've talked to a lot of state officers in their year of service, but maybe not so many alumni that were state officers. What has that done for you after your time in the jacket?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Whenever I was a state officer, I was so hyper-focused on service. I was so hyper-focused on giving back and getting students involved and just whatever I can do to help Georgia FFA, move forward and, the rising sun, the new day, all of it. I was hyper-focused on service, which is how you should be. That's what FFA teaches you. Being out of the Blue Jacket now and where I am today, I realized that position was really serving me and the development that I gained and the opportunity to meet people, to get to know myself and my skills and where I needed refinement, the ability to, there's this thing in DC, the kid you want to hire right out of college is the kid who can shake your hand and make eye contact at the same time. Just the ability to do that, the interpersonal skills, the opportunity to network with people, that position, I'm so grateful for it, because the refinement, the opportunity to figure out what I want to do with my life and you know, what I'm passionate about, I'm so grateful for it. And so I loved my time as a state officer, and I encourage any student who is interested in taking that next step to do it. Try it out. And if you don't make the team, that's not a reflection on you. That just means you have something else to do, and you have another area to serve and another opportunity to develop in a different way. But I think that's my biggest piece of advice for FFA members. Just find opportunities to serve, and through that service, you'll develop as well.
No, there's so much validity to what you just said. The
Mhm.
soft skills that FFA provides you that you don't even realize that you've gained through that experience.
Mhm.
I went from being in the jacket since 7th grade. I ran for state office. I didn't get state office, but now we get to have you on the Jacket podcast. So kind of a backwards way into still growing through the organization and different things of that nature. And then now I'm at college and I get to talk to people like you, and to be able to work through those soft skills and be like, oh my gosh, there's no way I could talk to you in Washington, D.C., and me in Florida right now if it weren't for what FFA has done for me. And
Right.
it's a great organization. And I absolutely agree that anybody who wants to get into it needs to jump in head first,
Mhm.
not dip your toes in the water head first.
Right. Totally.
That being said, how has it been so different living in LJ to Washington, D.C.? Was that transformation like really hard for you? I know it would be hard for me.
Yeah, no, it was terrifying. I'd never been to DC until I interned when I was a sophomore in college. Never had taken public transportation. Never had, I had never even flown on a plane. None of this. This was all new.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so whenever I came to DC, I lived in this townhome that was separated into apartments, and it was right on Capitol Hill. It was the first time since I got my license that I didn't have a car, and so I had to rely on public transportation. I was terrified, but it was such a blessing because I shared a bunk bed. I mean, intern living was, you did what you could do to get through it. At the time, I went to a small college in South Georgia, Abraham Baldwin Agricultural College, also known as ABAC. Yeah, ABAC. And they actually covered my housing for me while I was an intern, and I'm internally grateful to the college for that type of support. But all that to say, when you're an intern in DC, you're slumming it. I mean, you're trying your best because everything's so expensive here, to live here, to do anything here. And so I I'm at this townhome. I walk up to the second floor and I walk in, and there's this lovely young lady named Mindy who I'm sharing a bunk bed with. And she is actually also a past FFA member, studying the same degree I was at the Ohio State University, and we became quick and best friends. And so I felt a lot of comfort from, FFA. If I wasn't an FFA, I wouldn't have studied agricultural communications. I wouldn't have connected with Mindy. I would have felt a little jolted when I first got here. But she helped me settle in. She had been here a few weeks. But she helped me settle in, and we made friends together, and we found a church together, and we built a community together. And we're still in touch even 8 years later. And so I'm just really grateful for that because it was jarring. Again, I had to learn how to take public transportation. I still remember my first ride on the metro because I was so terrified that I was going to get lost, even though it's color coded and there's a map. Like, I was freaking out. But even now, I'm still not completely used to it. There's just different, it's just a different culture up here. It's its own little thing. But I think something that I realized too after living here for 6 years, this is everyone's first time in DC. Like, DC is not a residential place. It's not necessarily where you stay for, I mean, people do, don't get me wrong, and I have a lot of friends that do, but it's not typical that someone stays and builds a family and then their kids, their grandkids go to the same school their kids did, on and on. It's not like that. It's transitional. People come for a year, people come for 20 years. And so it's everyone's first time at DC. And when you realize that, it's a lot less scary.
I went to DC as a little girl with my family, just
Mhm.
kind of the traditional you need to see it
Yep.
situation. And then through FFA, I got to do the Washington Leadership Conference.
Oh, yeah.
And that was my first time on the
Mhm.
Metro. And I remember I'm with 300 of my closest Blue Jacket friends.
Yeah.
So, like, I know I'm safe. I know I will get to point A to point B.
Mhm.
But it freaked me out. I was like, I don't know where I'm going. I'm underground. Like,
Yeah.
what is happening? And I remember it being very nerve-wracking, even with people that were designed to get you to point A to point B safely.
Yeah.
Being kind of, I don't know, dropped in the lion's den, if you will, like you're saying. I can only imagine going from small town to big city and not knowing anyone.
Mhm.
Can you talk us through your career now? You've had all these little stepping stones.
Mhm.
What is your job title? What are you doing now? Like at the simplest level, because I don't even understand.
Yeah, no. So I am the director of political and grassroots strategy. So that means a lot, actually. There's a lot of little pieces to my job. So I kind of craft our strategy for how we interact with our state members. So we're a federated system. So working with our state members. So Iowa corn, Ohio corn and wheat, Georgia corn, pick your corn association. We don't have one in Florida, but we still interact with growers in Florida. So work with state associations to disseminate grassroots campaigns, opportunities for advocacy training, leadership development, et cetera, et cetera. How we can better prime growers and rural communities to respond to what's happening in DC. It's a lot of education, but it's also a lot of development and opportunities to connect. There's a huge piece in communications and just learning how to take a really wonky policy and put it in terms that we all can understand and all can understand the impacts of. So there's that piece of my job. And then I also craft our political strategy, which has a lot. So a PAC is a political action committee. It is a kind of bank of money that people will invest in, and then a committee. And how our PAC works is I'm a part of that committee, and I'm the staff lead for that committee. Decides where those dollars go, which candidates, which members of Congress we support and we want reelected. And so I manage our PAC. I manage the board that oversees the PAC. It's completely grower funded, meaning there's a lot of pressure, right, for us to take these investments from farmers and make the right choices, pick the right candidates, pick the right members of Congress to support. So with that, I do a lot of fundraising, both in terms of fundraising for our PAC and getting more dollars in our bank account, and for members of Congress we support. As an example, I'm sure a lot of people on this podcast would be familiar with Chairman G.T. Thompson. He's the chairman of the House Agriculture Committee. We work with him to help raise money for his campaign, for members that he supports, and just help get these folks reelected. The way that I describe it is, it's just like, Congress and advocacy is just like farming. You have to have your land primed, you have to have fertilizer, you have to have certain inputs and in the right soil for your crop to grow well. It's the same thing in DC. We have to have the right people in seats on Capitol Hill making decisions who understand our issues and also support our issues. And so that's kind of the gist of political strategy. I get to do a lot of other cool things like engagement opportunities, some event planning, really creating moments for advocacy and relationship building. I really focus on our relationship matrix and relationship development. And it kind of just is a cross section of a lot of different parts of our organization. I get to work with pretty much everyone on our team, which is really cool. A very small part of my portfolio is lobbying. I lobby on appropriations and government funding. And so we have some requests of Congress in terms of funding different programs and projects at the USDA. So I manage those. And then also just help again coordinate our different policy issues within the funding realm. Last little bit of my job, I have a team of one. So actually, my team is two, me and a really great gal. Her name is Shelby. And we work together to not only do our grassroots activations, but leadership development as well. So a really fun part of my job is being able to support Shelby in that program development and recruiting growers to join our leadership development programs. I get just to meet a lot of really cool people and farmers through that experience. And yeah, that's a gist of what I do.
That's a mouthful, Miss Sadie. That's a lot. I guess when your title is a whole sentence long, it's allowed to be.
Yeah.
I think it's a great position as far as you get to work with policymakers. You also get to do the advocacy events and networking, which is kind of like my favorite part of that column, is networking, the connections and things of that nature. What is your favorite part of your job? You had to pick just one.
I think my favorite part is whenever we have growers come to town and we are able to help them connect with Congress and help them advocate for themselves. It's not just us walking the halls of Congress, it's them. They're sharing their stories, they're sharing their perspective, and they really take ownership of the legislative process, which is what we should do. Like, as citizens of the United States, as Americans, we should really feel ownership of the legislative process, because these guys and gals who represent us on Capitol Hill, we are their constituency. They are serving us. And so being able to actually have growers in town, which is a sacrifice for them, to be away from their farms, to be away from their families, to have them in town and be able to have effective advocacy and to put the pieces together. I mean, it's just so gratifying and it's so fulfilling. One of my favorite moments, we have this really hot button topic right now. It's called E15. It has to do with it's a gasoline blend, but it's very important to corn growers because essentially it grinds more corn and helps the markets. And so it has been, I mean, we have caused drama on Capitol Hill over this.
What a scandal.
What a scandal over E15. And so I had the opportunity to help build out kind of a agenda program of events we had two different groups of growers in town. We had our board in town and then a leadership program that I was in charge of. And so I organized a night tour of the Capitol. A night tour of the Capitol was one of the lead members of Congress who was working on E15. And so they were working, a group of members of Congress were working late into the night on trying to find a policy agreement on E15. And so the congressman comes in, picks our group up, because you have to be escorted in by a member or staff at a night tour, picks our group up, and then he just runs ahead, and we're like, where is he going? He dips into the room where all the members of Congress were, who were debating and talking about what to do about E15, pulls them out so that they can all mix and mingle with the farmers he was giving a tour for. And that was just one of the coolest moments, because we literally interrupted their debate and discussion on a policy issue that is vital to these growers, to these farmers and their families, for them to mix and mingle and meet each other and share updates and perspective. And it was completely consequential of just putting together a program and being thoughtful about, where we put our farmers. It was really cool. And so that's a long-winded way of saying that's what I enjoy the most, is connecting with people with policy and being able to put a face to what's happening on Capitol Hill.
One of my favorite events in high school, and still is to this day, um, is that the tally days where our Farm Bureau organization would have FFA members from chapters across the state and come to the state capitol and lobby for different House bills, Senate bills that were going to affect Blue Jackets and people in ag education, whether it was the teachers or funding or XYZ. There was a million different issues, the farm bill. And that was one of my most favorite times in FFA, was because it connected students, individuals that aren't out of high school yet, to talk to representatives and make that connection and teach them at the same time the way our government works, as well as that your voice matters and you can go talk to these people. They are representing you.
Right.
That's important. And I think it's awesome that whoever came and got all of those farmers and allowed for the conversation to generate organically, and you got to hear firsthand accounts on how that's going to affect the people of that policy. So I think that's quite unique. I think I would have enjoyed that a lot as well. Through all of the different changes in your life, from moving from Georgia to DC and working through so many different obstacles, what has been your biggest life challenge, maybe work challenge that you've faced along the way?
Yeah, no, good question. So let's see. I'm so bad with dates. My husband is my numbers person and keeps me on my P's and Q's about dates. But it was probably, 2022. I was actually diagnosed with cancer, and I worked on Capitol Hill at the time. And so that was incredibly jarring. I was like working up the ladder. I had this cute, cool boyfriend. I was going back to grad school online, like everything was jiving, and then I get this diagnosis. So it was not great. It was not a great experience. I had 6 months of chemo, and then just the recovery started right after that. And so that was really jarring for me. But it was an obstacle that opened a lot of doors and really helped provide opportunities for me to do some self-discovery on what I care about, on where I want to spend my energy, on what I want to do in this life and in the world. And so I actually took this really tough situation, and I'm really blessed with a wonderful community here in DC. And actually, so much of that community is in agriculture. Birds of a feather flock together for sure.
Absolutely.
And in DC, the way that I really built my network was through FFA, past FFA members. Most all of my friends were involved in FFA. But the DC ag community is strong. And so I really built a strong community between my professional life and church and my friends and family. And so when I finished treatment, we started a foundation that supports young adults who are overcoming cancer. And we are in our second year of doing that. And so it's really cool. And so that has been the biggest obstacle for me. I feel like right before my diagnosis, I was figuring it out. Like I was figuring out DC, I was grooving, everything was good. The newness of DC had kind of worn off. And then after that diagnosis, I've been gifted this really cool opportunity to expand my horizons, expand my skill set, and step out of my comfort zone and start this foundation. It's hard to ask people for money. It's even more difficult to ask your friends for money. And so through building this experience, through building the foundation and fundraising and getting people on board and getting supporters, I mean, it's just really stretched me in ways I never thought I would have to be stretched. And so, yeah, that has to be my biggest obstacle in the past few years.
I can imagine that being quite the obstacle, especially you're rolling down your road, you finally figured out kind of the ebbs and flows of it, and then it's almost like just kind of sniper gotcha type situation. But it's kind of crazy how God might set you back a couple steps, but he brings you through it and he brings you forward.
Yeah.
And in so many ways, it's fantastic that you took a moment that was probably really scary for you, I can imagine, and brought that into a positive. where you can help others that are working through the same things that you have been through. And that's quite impressive.
Thank you.
Especially taking the good and turning it into a bad. It's not taking the bad and turning it into good.
Yes.
Sorry. It's not always easy, and it's definitely admirable. To close out your episode, what is a piece of advice you would give a younger FFA member or somebody that wants to take the same path as you?
Nothing is going to go as planned. Absolutely nothing. There are factors beyond your control. For me, it was a worldwide pandemic and it was cancer. It could be anything for you. Nothing is going to go as planned. So what you think your future looks like now may not be what it actually looks like, and that's okay. And the other piece of advice, in addition to that, is it's very important to be where your feet are, to take the experiences, to take the life that you have now for what it is, and really experience it and glean and learn what you can from it, because it's going to change. Your circumstances are going to change. You're going to change. Your interest and your skill set is going to change. So just really absorb where you are right now and take it for what it's worth. Take what you need from your experience in your life as it is, and know that there's more to come. So that would be my advice.
That's good advice, that it's never going to go as planned, and I'm starting to realize that. And I'm such the planner, so I have to accept it too, and we'll work through that. And I'm sure there's many other individuals who feel the same way. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, Miss Sadie. I have enjoyed getting to know you and your journey, and have learned so many more new things about how our policy works, and I hope our listeners have too. Listeners, thank you for tuning in with us again this Friday. Be sure to like and subscribe to Beyond the Jacket. We look forward to seeing you next week.